Imagine it is a blistering hot morning in Truth or Consequences, New Mexico, March 22, 1999. It is a quiet, sleepy desert town, the kind of place where neighbors know each other, where people move to retire, where the biggest noise is usually the wind blowing through the sagebrush. A woman is sitting on her porch, drinking her morning coffee. She looks out towards the street, and she sees something that her mind simply cannot process. Running down the middle of the road is a young woman. She is completely naked. She is covered in blood. Her face is bruised. Her wrists are bleeding. But the most terrifying detail isn't the blood. It isn't the nudity. It is the metal. Around her neck is a heavy steel dog collar. Attached to the collar is a thick metal chain, dragging on the asphalt behind her. She is screaming, but she isn't screaming for help. She is screaming in a way that sounds like a wounded animal. She is screaming, "He's going to kill me. He's going to kill me." She runs up to the porch. She is banging on the door. She is frantic. She keeps looking over her shoulder, expecting a monster to emerge from the dust. The neighbor, terrified, lets her in. The girl collapses on the floor. She is shaking so hard that the chain rattles against the linoleum. She grabs the neighbor's hand. Her grip is like iron. She whispers, "Do not let him in. He has a badge. He has a badge." This is not a scene from a horror movie. This is the moment that ended the reign of one of the most sadistic sexual predators in American history. This is the story of Cynthia Vigil. She was a woman who was kidnapped, tricked, and locked inside a torture chamber that the killer affectionately called his toy box. She was told via a pre-recorded audio tape that she was going to be enslaved, tortured, and eventually killed. She was told there was no escape. She was told that no one would hear her scream because the walls were insulated with 4 inches of soundproofing. But the killer made one fatal mistake. He underestimated the will of the woman he chained up. He thought he had captured a victim. He didn't realize he had captured a soldier. This is the story of how Cynthia Vigil waited for her moment, fought a brutal hand-to-hand battle for her life, and exposed a nightmare that had been hidden in the New Mexico desert for decades. If you want to know what true survival looks like, if you want to know what the human spirit can endure when the devil himself is holding the key, please hit that subscribe ** button right now. You need to hear this story. To understand the horror of the escape, we have to understand the cunning of the capture. Cynthia Vigil was 22 years old. She was street smart. She was tough. She wasn't the kind of person who would get into a car with a stranger. She lived a hard life in Albuquerque, but she knew how to handle herself. On March 20, 1999, she was standing outside a motel. A truck pulled up. The man inside didn't look scary. He looked like a grandfather. He was older, around 60. He had gray hair. He looked like a mechanic or a handyman. His name was David Parker Ray. But he didn't introduce himself as David. He flashed a badge. "I'm an undercover police officer," he said. "You're under arrest." Cynthia froze. She respected the badge. She knew you don't fight the police. He told her to get in the car. He handcuffed her hands behind her back. It seemed like a standard arrest. But then the drive went on too long. They weren't going to the police station. They were driving south, deep into the desert, towards a place called Elephant Butte. Cynthia asked, "Where are we going?" The man didn't answer. Sitting next to him was a woman, his girlfriend, Hendy. She turned around and looked at Cynthia. She didn't look sympathetic. She looked cold. She looked excited. That was the moment Cynthia knew. This isn't a cop. This is a kidnapping. They arrived at a remote property. It was a junkyard of trailers, RVs, and old cars. They dragged Cynthia out of the truck. They led her to a white cargo trailer sitting in the yard. It looked innocent from the outside, just a storage trailer. But when the door opened, Cynthia saw the truth. It was a fully equipped medical torture chamber. There was a gynecological chair. There were whips. There were chains hanging from the ceiling. There were surgical instruments. There were mirrors on the ceiling so the victim couldn't look away. David Parker Ray called it his toy box. They dragged her inside. They stripped her. They put the metal collar around her neck. They chained her to the floor. And then David Parker Ray did something so psychologically twisted it has become infamous in criminal psychology. He didn't scream at her. He didn't hit her immediately. He put a pair of headphones on her ears. He pressed play on a tape recorder. And Cynthia had to listen to a pre-recorded speech, a speech that Ray had recorded in a calm, monotonous voice. The tape began. "Hello there. You are probably wondering where you are and what is going to happen to you." For minutes, the voice explained in graphic detail exactly what was going to happen. It explained the rules. It explained the torture. It explained that she was now a slave. It explained that if she disobeyed, she would be punished. The purpose of the tape was to break her mind before he even touched her body. It was designed to induce learned helplessness, to make her believe that resistance was futile. Most victims, after hearing that tape, would give up. They would go catatonic. But Cynthia Vigil sat there, listening to the voice of this monster, and a fire started to burn in her stomach. She wasn't listening to the rules. She was listening for a weakness. For the next 3 days, Cynthia lived in hell. I won't go into the graphic details of the torture because they are too horrific for words. But David Parker Ray and Cindy Hendy used electricity. They used tools. They used psychological terror. They treated her like an object. They told her she would never see her family again. But during the torture, Cynthia noticed something. She noticed the dynamic between David and his girlfriend, Cindy. Cindy Hendy wasn't just an accomplice. She was jealous. She was insecure. And David was arrogant. He was so sure of his system, so sure of his chains, that he got sloppy. Cynthia realized that she couldn't overpower David. He was a large man, and he was always armed or carrying a cattle prod. But Cindy was smaller. Cindy was careless. Cynthia realized that her only path to freedom was through the girlfriend. On the 3rd day, March 22, David Parker Ray had to go to work. He worked for the Parks Department. He was a government employee. He left the trailer in the morning. "Watch her," he told Cindy. "Don't worry," Cindy said. "She's not going anywhere." David left. Cindy was in the trailer with Cynthia. But Cindy was relaxed. She wasn't paying attention. She was sitting there, maybe reading, maybe fixing something. She had left the keys to the padlocks on a table, not within reach but visible. And crucially, she had left a tool nearby. Some reports say it was an ice pick. Some say it was a screwdriver. Some say it was a sharp piece of metal from a lamp. Whatever it was, Cynthia spotted it. She knew this was it. She knew that David would come back in the evening, and she knew that eventually they would kill her. They had told her. So the calculation was simple. If I stay, I die 100%. If I fight, I might die, but I might live. Cynthia waited for Cindy to get close. Cindy approached her, maybe to adjust the chains, maybe to taunt her. Cynthia's hands were chained, but she had enough slack to move her arms. She grabbed the weapon, and she launched herself at Hendy. It wasn't a clean fight. It was a desperate, messy, violent struggle. Cynthia stabbed Cindy in the neck-shoulder area with the tool. Cindy screamed. She was shocked. She didn't expect the broken toy to fight back. Cindy fought back. She tried to grab Cynthia. She tried to hit her. But Cynthia was fighting with the adrenaline of a person who has stared into the abyss. During the struggle, Cynthia managed to get hold of the keys. Her hands were shaking. Blood was everywhere. She tried the key in the padlock of her wrist cuffs. Click. Her hands were free. But the collar around her neck was still locked. Cindy was recovering. She was blocking the door. Cynthia realized she didn't have time to unlock the neck collar. She still had the heavy chain attached to her neck. She didn't care. She fought her way past Cindy. She shoved her, she punched her. She threw open the door of the trailer. The sunlight hit her face. It was blinding after 3 days in the dark box. Cynthia jumped out of the trailer. She was naked. She was barefoot on the sharp desert rocks. She had a heavy chain dragging from her neck. Cindy was behind her, screaming, "Get back here, you bitch!" Cynthia ran. She ran through the junkyard. She scrambled over the fence. She hit the pavement. She ran towards the neighboring houses. She knew that David Parker Ray lived in a secluded area, but there were neighbors nearby. She reached the first house. She pounded on the door. "Help me, please." The person inside looked out. They saw a naked woman in chains. They were terrified. They didn't open the door. Imagine the despair. You have escaped the dungeon, but society won't let you in because you look like a monster. Cynthia didn't give up. She ran to the next house. She saw a woman on the porch. This woman, the hero neighbor, didn't lock the door. She grabbed a phone. She called 911. She let Cynthia in. She wrapped a blanket around her. She grabbed bolt cutters to try and get the chain off, but it was too thick. Moments later, David Parker Ray came driving down the street. He had gotten a call from Cindy. He was coming to recapture her. He slowed his truck down in front of the neighbor's house. He looked at the house, but he heard the sirens. The police were coming. David Parker Ray hit the gas. He fled. When the police arrived, they found Cynthia shaking, traumatized, still wearing the collar. They had to use industrial tools to cut it off her neck. She told them everything. "He has a box, he has a tape, he has tools." The FBI raided the property. What they found confirmed their worst nightmares. They found the trailer. They found the audio tape. The transcript of this tape is considered one of the most disturbing documents in FBI history. They found diaries. David Parker Ray kept detailed logs of his victims. He wrote about what he did to them. He treated it like a science experiment. But here is the most terrifying part. The police believe that David Parker Ray had been doing this for **40 years*. They believe he may have had up to *60 victims*. Most of them he drugged with a substance that caused amnesia. He would torture them, drug them to make them forget, and then dump them on the side of the road. Many women woke up in the desert thinking they had been raped or partied too hard, having vague flashbacks of a box, but no concrete memories. Because they couldn't remember, they couldn't report it. David Parker Ray was the perfect predator. Until Cynthia Vigil. Cynthia didn't take the drugs, or she fought through them. She remembered, and she escaped. David Parker Ray and Cindy Hendy were arrested. Cindy Hendy turned on David immediately. She wanted a plea deal. She told the police everything. She told them about the other victims. She told them about the murder of a woman named Kelly Garrett. She told them about David's daughter, Glenda Ray, who was also involved. David Parker Ray was put on trial. Cynthia Vigil walked into the courtroom. She faced the man who told her she was a slave. She pointed at him. She testified. The jury listened to the tape. They looked at the chains. It was overwhelming. David Parker Ray was convicted of kidnapping and torture. He was sentenced to *224 years in prison. But here is the twist of fate. David Parker Ray was a sadist. He loved pain. But he never faced the pain of prison.